When did your body tell you to pay more attention to it as a truth teller?
You know, I was always an athlete, so I was very much in tune with my body, and I actually felt like it regulated my moods. So if I didn't run a certain day, I could feel my mood falter. In fact, I used to have people say to me, have you run today yet? Maybe you want to think about doing that. The interesting thing with something like that, though, is you can get wrapped up in it as a belief that, oh, well, I have to run to be happy. I have to do this. And one thing that happened for me, I tore my knee, meniscus when I was playing basketball when I was in 10th grade, and I couldn't play sports for a few months, and I was without my identity as an athlete, and I felt like I was adrift at sea with no bearings at all, no anchor to hold me in place, and it was a really difficult time for me. I think that what I learned from that was that when we wrap ourselves in an identity, we shortchange ourselves. There's definitely physical endorphins that get released when we're exercising. However, if we get so, rigid about how the life has to be for us to be happy, that's when I think we get off course. And really, we can be happy if we just tune ourselves into our body. So that was the beginning for me, was to have an injury as an athlete and not be able to be an athlete in that time. I began to think of myself, I had to think of myself differently, or I felt like I wasn't going to make it. I really was scrambling to figure out who I was. So it took a long time, and I did a lot of distracting behaviors, and I did a lot of the outside-in work. I looked to people and places and relationships to fill me, alcohol or food or, it's just things outside of me. I was a shadow artist for a long time as well, really following people who were doing their thing. And I just thought, wasn't that awesome? Isn't that great? And then I heard more and more of those people saying, you're only liking in me what is in you that is wanting to come out. So, I've had a lot of great mentors in my life, including you.
Thank you.
And a couple come to mind. I had a friend that I met right out of college. We worked at a summer camp together, and she was brilliant, and she was creative, and she was just a very, very interesting, very completely different person than anyone I knew in my upstate New York hometown near Canada. And I just was very drawn to her and really just loved her, felt like, well, she seemed like somebody who was on TV, and she's an actress as well. So she was the first person who told me that I was smart, that I believed. And I believed her because I knew how smart she was. So when and that was what was attractive to me about her, was she was smart and funny and creative and wacky. And I had kind of lived my life in this, dampened down, to fit in with where I was, whether it was, family or church or school, just kind of ignoring parts of joy to be cool, which was great, up until it wasn't, because it gets limiting. Any of those identities are limiting, and that's what was, so she was the first person to tell me that I was smart, who I believed, she was 170 IQ. I'm like, well, if she thinks I'm smart, I must be smart. So that shifted the trajectory for me. And I ended up then kind of taking on this smart thing. I started on the path of learning more than anything else. When I was in college, I didn't really care about learning. When I was in high school, I didn't really care about. I did what I did, and I got A's and all that, but I never really found passion in it. So I ended up getting a master's degree in psychology, and I threw myself into it. I loved it. And since that time, I've been very much about the head. And, what can I learn about this? What can you teach me? What can, and I ended up about 10 years ago meeting a woman named Dr. Sue Morter, and she's become a main teacher for me and a dear friend. And it was through her workshops where we actually, she spoke a bit, but we actually did meditation work. We did breath work. We listened to crystal bowls. We heard different songs, and we sang different songs. We sang a version of Alleluia, just Alleluia alone for, I think it's 20 minutes. And the chanting, the sacredness of Alleluia, the group, it just awoke within me these parts of my body that I didn't even know existed, because I was operating probably from my head and my legs and maybe my arms, throw a softball. And when I found that there was this whole like thing going on in here that I wasn't even aware of, that's when I found my joy. That's when I thought, wow, feelings, maybe not thinking all the time is perhaps the next frontier for me. And it turned out it was. So I've, devoted the last 10 years of my life to learning more about the body in its cellular energy, how it works, how you can activate it, the different energy centers or the different chakras, how the nervous system works. When we have a particular ache and pain in a part of our body, my experience, not just my training, but my experience now is that it's almost always directly related to your chakra in that particular area being out of balance, being closed down. Things close down for us as we move away from the truth of who we are. And you spoke about that earlier. When we move to doing things to fit in, when we move to making other people happy, when we move, we're moving away from the core of who we are. And so now that I have been awakened in this way at a cellular level and had experiences that I would never have dreamed of, I've had some great highs in my life, from sports and love and family and friends. But when I got in here and things started to talk to me, it was a whole different ballgame. And then I said, let's let more people be aware of this.
Fantastic, fantastic.